Education, I'd like to welcome His Royal Highness, Prince Edward, the Duke of Edinburgh. Welcome. Please, round of applause for our special guest. An honor to have you with us, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take a seat right next to me if you don't mind. And then I'd like to welcome Adeel Khan, founder and CEO of MagicSchool AI. Fantastic. Take a seat. Your Royal Highness, do you journal?
I don't think I do, but I do have a notebook, and I scribble everything on paper. So yeah, absolutely.
I journal on my cell phone. So.
Oh no. Well, you're the AI guy, so yeah. I'm not surprised.
Indeed.
Well, delighted to have you both with us, and so really good to have you with us. You're very committed to education, and of course, importantly, through the Duke of Edinburgh Award as well. You work with tens of thousands of students around the world.
We do, yes.
Yeah, which is incredible. And you really encourage, at the very fragile age of 14 years old, encourage them to really test themselves.
We do challenge ourselves by trying to target young people 14 to 24, but that's quite a critical age when they're changing from being a young person to growing into a young adult. And the task is to allow those young people the space to discover who they really are and to develop themselves as characters. So picking up exactly what Anna was saying, we're the human element of education, but we're anywhere where there are 14 to 24-year-olds. So it doesn't have to be in school. Yeah. That could be in a youth club. It could be in a young offenders institute. It could be in an arts sports club or whatever it is. Wherever they are, that's where we try to reach out to them.
And how's that going? And I wonder, in a world with so many distractions, and I think, let's face it, we're worried about AI, we're worried about how it's going to affect our jobs and our skills. And, what kind of trends are you seeing within what students are engaging in under your program?
Well, it still attracts. I mean, if you look at formal education is what happens in the classroom. That's the taught subjects. And that gives you formal qualifications, which is great, excellent. That may or may not get you an interview. But then how do you develop all the other skills and experiences? That's the non-formal side. That's all the stuff that happens outside the classroom. We talked about music and drama and the arts, but there are many, many more. Sports, there is a wide range of non-formal activities, but that's experiential learning. That's learning by doing. That's where you learn who you are. You discover who other people are. You learn to judge. You learn to interact. You learn to trust. And for anybody who works in education, you see a very different young person in those different environments, in those different fields.
Absolutely.
Because people blossom. But you have to give those young people the opportunities to do it. If you don't provide the opportunities, you'll never find out.
Well, Adeel, you were in the normal structured school system until you broke away. Tell me about MagicSchool AI. And what prompted you to start this?
Yeah, so I was a teacher and a principal my whole career in public schools in the US. And when the generative AI phenomena was happening in November of 2022, I happened to be taking some time off. I started tinkering with it, and the headlines were at the time, AI is going to replace teachers. Schools and districts are just going to show YouTube and a chatbot, and that's going to take care of our kids. And as somebody who'd worked in schools my whole life, founded a public high school that was focused on relationships. That's the foundation of learning. No great learning happens without a great relationship, is what we would say at our school as a kind of rallying cry. I knew that wasn't going to be the end game of this, but I did find that there was real utility in this for educators. So, instead of trying to replace a teacher, what we do is we surround them with generative AI tools that can amplify their ability to do their jobs, lean into their intentions, serve students from all different backgrounds, and also encourage them to build more relevant, authentic experiences for students in the school building, where they can create assignments that they once would take too much time, and maybe they wouldn't have the time to do it. But now you can create these authentic project-based learning experiences in seconds that are really dialed into a student's needs, their passions, and help them really become that most authentic version of themselves, which is what I know all educators want for their kids.
And you focus on K-12, essentially.
That's right. Primary and secondary schools is the most used AI platform in the world.
Yeah. Are you of the camp that believe that AI could impact negatively the workforce, skills, how are you weighing that up at a time where we have no idea where this is going to settle and end?
Yeah, I think there's a massive opportunity. Obviously, I'm building this platform for that reason, but there's also an incredible risk. We think that it's so important that a student learns about generative AI in their school building from a trusted teacher and an adult, rather than discovering it on their cell phone. Right? They can be opening Snapchat and find my AI friend, and that might be their first exposure to generative AI. And I think all of us in this room would prefer that first exposure be under the guidance of a teacher who can let the student know the risks and benefits of this technology, that it's not a person, right? Like anthropomorphizing AI is actually kind of a challenge. We've seen students and young people begin to have unhealthy companionship-style relationships with chatbots. And I think that we can agree that we want more human connection in the world, and ensuring that students understand these risks when they're in the school building, before they touch the technology, under the guidance of someone who's been trained, supported, and a teacher who cares about them, is so much better an environment for our children.
Yeah, so I see you agreeing with that.
I was going to say, I think it's really important to remember it is just a tool. And what you have to remember is a tool that doesn't tell the truth and is entirely sycophantic. So it's a really weird tool that we've created, and so you're right, if you don't actually equip young people, adults can cope with it because you go, well, that's not true, because we think we know a bit more, so we know, well, that's not true. And we're probably, I don't know if we are actually, but I'm told that the best way to treat a chatbot is to be very rude back at it.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, no.
Is that what you do? Do you?
No, I don't. I haven't.
Use AI?
I try not to use them if I possibly can. I still rely on actually talking to human beings. I found that works quite well, actually, so especially if you know that, if you already know that this thing doesn't tell you the truth all the time, it cannot tell you, I don't know. That is not a program. So everything it does is its best possible guess. But whereas when we say, oh, that's a really good question, I'm not sure I know the answer, and then intuition comes into it, or you'll give at least you dress it up. These tools don't. So how do you equip young people with those skills, and how do you give them the ability to communicate with each other? The brilliant thing, is when you put away, we call them phones. How many people actually use them as phones? They're just pocket computers. They run your life. Put it away. Yeah. Start talking to people. It's amazing what happens. And people come alive as well.
Be honest. How many of you are addicted to your phones? Be honest.
Yeah.
Hands up.
They're all getting really nervous now because
I don't know if they're honest.
They've all started putting them away now. So it's just fascinating. It's just. But it is. But in terms of so developing those young people, as I said, formal education, great. But I think there's a real place for non-formal education in the future. If we're going to create and generate those skilled young people for the future who are adaptable and resilient, you have to put them into an environment, into space, into places where they're going to test themselves, slightly outside their comfort zone. And when you get to an interview, they don't ask you about your academic qualifications at all. They pass straight past that. They go, so what have you done?
Yep.
What have you learned? What are the skills you've done? What are your experiences? And if we're not giving those young people those experiences, how are they going to get a job?
So do you think that's going to be the differentiating factor, essentially, in the job and the jobs of the future and skills of the future? Let me ask you this.
What we've done, and I'll just finish that one thought there with the award, is that we've been doing this for 70-odd years. But what we've done, which is a bit different, is that we've worked out a system of assessing and accrediting non-formal education.
And that's how it's evolved, even within the award.
Absolutely. And that means that employers can trust it. Comes back to that word, trust. Yeah. And when you see that they've done a Duke of Edinburgh's International Award, bronze, silver, or gold, you can ask them, what did you do for it? And it'll tell you 4 things about that young person if you get them to tell the story.
I think you should have an adult award as well.
So people say that as well,
Be a bit focused. Can you not use your phone for a whole year? Anyway, if you had the opportunity to redesign the curriculum, obviously the way that you were taught, the way I was taught, the way that many of us here in the room were taught, completely different to what our children are experiencing right now. And the question becomes, are we just retrofitting different personalities into a very fixed curriculum that doesn't work for everyone. We aren't able to draw out those skills and those talents. What's your view? Do you think it's working? Do you think we're going to see it completely redone?
You see, I would come back to the theme of this particular session, which is how do you measure education? Is it through years? That's a bit odd, that one. Is it through skills? Yeah, but not alone, because you need knowledge, because there's that wonderful definition of knowledge and wisdom. You come across that one? Knowledge and wisdom? Knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is you don't put it in a fruit salad. So think about it. Anyway, there you go. But you still need the knowledge, but you need to balance that up. You need to balance that up with the skills and the experiences.
So Adeel, you come from a very structured background. I mean, you're working at a school, I think in Denver, it was. What was it about the system that you didn't like, and what works and what doesn't? And do you think we're at the cusp of seeing education completely transformed?
Yeah, one thing that really resonates with me about authentic experiences and the work that's being done is, we were a college preparatory school, the school that I founded in Colorado, and we would get our kids to the college application process. We spent a lot of time making sure they got good test scores, they had really great grades in school. Those were components of the application process. For the students who were trying to be competitive for the most prestigious colleges in the US, those things didn't matter very much. Everyone applying to Harvard, Stanford has a perfect GPA, has a perfect test score. So what those schools are looking for is, what are the experiences that you've accumulated by the time you're applying to college? What is your portfolio that you can share with me of work that you've done? And what skills have those brought into your life? How are you going to be a contributor to my campus or university life? And what is your unique voice, right? What is your authentic
But this all puts a lot of pressure on kids. Like, what is that extra curriculum going to be?
It does put a lot of pressure on kids. I'm always astonished by, a child who goes to Duke University or Stanford University, they start an orphanage when they're in school. I didn't have the...
Not everyone can do that, right?
Not everyone can do that, absolutely. But AI kind of provides this opportunity for, I always use the example of when I was a kid in high school, I wanted to direct films. I grew up in Virginia, there's no film industry in the area, I had no one to connect to, I had no instruction manual on how to pursue that passion. Now you can use generative AI, one, to understand the career trajectory of somebody who wants to go into film, ask some quick questions, be an infinite curiosity machine, which is what kids are, and learn all of that. Two, you can use generative AI tooling to maybe create your first scene. You could actually storyboard and create a film using generative AI, video technology. And if I was in high school again, I wouldn't be spending all my nights playing video games. I would have been piecing together generative AI clips and making movies. And let's equip our children with the tools of the future so they can express their most creative selves. And think of these as tools rather than replacements, because I know that my education could have been richer with this canvas of new tools that we have. We're using those tools on a canvas that could help me accelerate that.
But it's very interesting, because the film industry is the only industry that advertises every single job. But nobody sits through the credits of a film. But you sit through the credits of a film, every single job that was created by that film is put up on screen.
That's true, yeah.
And it's like, there's a world of possibilities and opportunities there. But everybody thinks, oh no, I want to go and act, or I want to go and direct. But there are lots of other ways into that whole industry. But it's a rare one. Not many people, not many industries put all the possibilities up there.
So the work that you do cuts across various emerging markets and also more developed economies. And one thing that's very striking is, for example, in Africa, we keep talking about the youth demographic, and that's going to be very vital for the world, frankly. And that's, of course, one of the big commodities that everyone focuses on, specifically in emerging markets. But that's not going to work if you don't have an educated youth and you don't have an educated population. And while we're talking about AI tools, and we're talking about very advanced things and fantastic education here, for example, in the UAE, there are countries that are just trying to give the bare minimum. And I wonder how we close that gap, because that is going to affect the skills of the future as businesses start looking for the new generation.
Absolutely, and you can see that already now. And many countries are struggling to work out how do they develop their education, how do they develop their provision. There's no such thing. We call it system. There's no such system. We all learn differently, we all think differently. So you've got to create you've got to need an education process that delivers those outcomes. And it's the different outcomes that you've got to try and work out. Where do you want young people to be going after secondary school? Mm-hmm. You know, college, university, that's just one option. There are lots of other options. But if you're not helping young people to develop, to go on those different pathways, that's where I think that education and the policymakers just focused around one area. So broaden your minds, open up. Look, there are lots of outcomes. What are those outcomes? Identify what those outcomes. Empower your educators to be able to help young people to be able to follow those particular pathways, whichever they want to go. And we're here to help. I mean, the award is just a tool. There are lots of providers of non-formal education. We don't provide it. We're just this tool, this interface. But we can help you to empower those teachers to be able to deliver it, or those youth workers, and that's the bit that we want to work. And ultimately, it's employers, because all the employers, what do they always cry out for?
Well, what do they want? I mean, that's the question.
They want young people who are skilled. Mm-hmm. They want people who are adaptable, who are resilient, who are going to turn up when they say they're going to turn up, when they want to turn up, and they want to do the job. They've got a passion to come and do it. But we've got to develop those passions. We've got to develop those aspirations.
Absolutely. Okay. So every generation, there is a, sort of something that's in vogue and in fashion to study. I always get the sense that mining engineering is back in vogue because of the critical minerals rush. Some people are saying, my kids, I'm going to teach them to do plumbing because a plumber will always be needed in the world of AI. So Adeel, let me ask you, what's trending right now in terms of skills?
Yeah, I think that the skill of being able to problem solve, identify a problem, arrange resources to solve that problem is infinite utility forever. And you could also call that leadership, right?
Yeah.
Is what does a leader do? They identify their mission, the problem they want to solve in the world. They galvanize resources around that mission. Maybe those resources aren't all human resources anymore. Some of them are AI agents that are helping you do that mission. You're using different tooling to accomplish that. But I think that there's infinite opportunity for folks who are looking to solve a problem and build a passion and then organize resource around it.
So problem solver, adaptable, flexibility.
Yeah, and the communication.
Communication?
Yeah. Communication is another absolutely critical one in that ability. And here I think that, in a funny sort of way, I think that coding should be taught as a language in schools. For a variety of reasons. Yeah. Not that everybody's going to become a coder. That's not everybody's going to become, developing technology. But you're going to have to interact with someone who works in technology because that business is growing wider and wider. So if you want to communicate with them, whether you want to become an investor in the future, whether you want them to develop something for you, you're going to have to understand that language. If you don't not talking the right language, you're not going to get the right result.
Absolutely. Okay. I'm going to put my journalistic hat on because it's vital that I do. And I know that you've been very busy. You are taking on so much. And of course, there's less working royals right now. And I'm wondering how that's going, how you're doing. And importantly, if you're finding it challenging because you have so many things in your portfolio.
Yes. Well, that's the blessing and the curse of the job. I mean, it's fantastic. No 2 days are ever the same, which is great, which is why I have to carry a notebook.
Yeah,
it doesn't all stay up here. And I have to keep note of where I'm supposed to be and who I'm supposed to be talking to at most times. So, but it's great. That's the joy of it, because I'm constantly meeting new people, constantly having new conversations, and this is a job that is entirely people-based, and 80% of it is on the road.
Yeah.
It's not sitting behind a desk. It's not sitting behind a computer. I do have a computer at home. It's one of the most annoying things that I have, because when I want it to do something instantaneously, that's when it decides, no, I'm not going to talk to the printer. No, I'm not. So I have a love-hate relationship with technology.
Do you have an Alexa in your home? You're like, Alexa, write me notes?
So that's what. And it's then to try and remember which notebook I put the notes
Yeah.
in. So that's usually.
I mean, who's got Alexa in their home?
So.
Alexa, do you guys know what that is? It's like this little gadget. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, Alexa.
Oh,
yeah.
God, yes. No. Stay well clear of those. As we know, they just listen in to you.
I know, exactly. They do. It's an exciting time in the world. There's so many changes that are going on. And I have to say that, education is going to be one of those important things, so we appreciate everything you do. So, Your Royal Highness, as well as Adeel, much appreciated. Round of applause.
Thank you.
Fantastic
Thanks very
day.
much.